There are moments in NBA history that don't happen, and yet they haunt us. They sit in the margins of headlines, in quiet trade rumors, in talks that almost happened. And yet their impact can still be felt. One such moment? The trade that would have brought Kristaps Porzingis to Atlanta. It wasn't flashy at the time, it wasn't breaking news, but make no mistake, had the Hawks pulled the trigger, we could be talking today about an Eastern Conference dynasty. Not Boston, not Philly, not Milwaukee. Atlanta, a team built around Trae Young's brilliant offense and Porzingis' towering presence. Instead, the deal died. And with it, perhaps, the only real chance the Hawks had to rise above mediocrity and into legacy. Let's rewind. In 2021, the Atlanta Hawks shocked the basketball world. A young, fearless squad led by a baby-faced flamethrower in Trae Young marched into Madison Square Garden and embarrassed the Knicks. Then they knocked out the top-seeded Philadelphia 76ers. Trae was throwing lobs, pulling up from the logo, and shushing 20,000 New Yorkers in their own arena. It felt like the dawn of something special. Atlanta basketball was no longer a punchline, it was a problem. And yet, beneath all that hype, a truth was festering. The roster was flawed. Trae was elite, but his supporting cast wasn't built for sustained dominance. Clint Capella offered rebounding and lob threat potential, but couldn't stretch the floor. John Collins was athletic but inconsistent, often disappearing in big games. The bench had heart, but lacked punch. What Atlanta needed was simple: a two-way big man who could shoot, defend, and elevate the offense into something less predictable. Enter Kristaps Porzingis. At the time, Porzingis was seen as damaged goods by many. Injuries had slowed his once ascendant rise in New York. In Dallas, his chemistry with Luka Doncic had eroded. He was too soft, they said. Couldn't stay healthy, didn't want to play inside. But here's the thing. He was still averaging over 20 points per game, blocking nearly 2 shots a night, and shooting a respectable 35% from deep. The numbers didn't lie. Porzingis was still a unicorn. He just needed the right system, the right star to play with, the right city to believe in him. And the Hawks had all of that. The rumored trade was simple: John Collins and a future first-round pick for Porzingis. Dallas was open. They wanted to move on. Atlanta had the pieces, the cap space, and the urgency. Trae was ascending. The East was open. Brooklyn was falling apart. Philly was melting down. Boston hadn't yet found their killer instinct. Milwaukee was strong but beatable. The moment was there. All Atlanta had to do was act. But they hesitated. Ownership grew concerned about Porzingis' injury history. The front office debated his locker room fit. Some argued Collins still had untapped potential. Others warned of cap complications. And just like that, the opportunity vanished. Porzingis was shipped to Washington, and later to Boston. And Atlanta? They stagnated. They ran it back. The same formula, the same flaws, the same result: mediocrity. Now imagine the alternate reality: Porzingis in a Hawks jersey. Picture the pick and pop with Trae Young, a 7-3 shooter dragging opposing bigs out of the paint. Trae finally able to drive without a center clogging the lane. Porzingis spotting up from 30 feet, or posting up mismatches, or swatting shots on the other end. Offensively, it would have been surgical. Defensively, it would have been transformative. Suddenly, the Hawks would have had rim protection, length, a true two-way threat. Capella could have slid to the bench or become trade bait. DeAndre Hunter, Bogdanovic, and Murray could have operated with more space. And Trae? He would have reached another level. Instead of fighting for play-in spots, Atlanta could have been a 50-plus win team consistently. They would have had the talent to match up with any top contender. Porzingis, in Boston, has shown us exactly what Atlanta missed. On the Celtics, he doesn't need to be the alpha. He's the high-level third option. A guy who hits timely threes, protects the rim, and gives the office spacing that suffocates defenses. That's exactly what Atlanta needed him to be. Not the savior, just the solution. And let's not forget, Trae Young is a generational passer. while Porzingis struggled to gel with Luka, who dominates the ball. Trae's play style would have fed Porzingis. Constant pick and rolls, lobs, pops, easy buckets. In Dallas, Porzingis was often an awkward afterthought. In Atlanta, he would have been the engine's second piston. Empowered, prioritized, needed. And when healthy and engaged, Porzingis isn't just a good player, he's game-changing. Instead, Atlanta fell into no man's land. The Collins experiment collapsed. He was eventually traded for pennies. Capella slowed down, Hunter struggled with consistency, DeJounte Murray, while talented, didn't fix spacing issues, and Trae? He went from future MVP candidate to is he even a winning player questions. The narrative flipped. All because Atlanta didn't commit to growth. They feared risk, and in the NBA, risk is often the difference between banners and busts. In 2024, Porzingis helped the Celtics become virtually unstoppable. Their offense? Dynamic. Their defense? Versatile. He gave them everything he could have given Atlanta, but with Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown reaping the benefits instead. Watching him stretch the floor, punish mismatches, and erase shots at the rim is a painful reminder Atlanta could have had that. But they blinked. What hurts even more, the East hasn't gotten tougher, it's just more defined. The Celtics found their formula. Milwaukee depends on health. Philly is a mystery, Miami is scrappy but aging, and the Hawks? They're still wondering. With Trae Young now surrounded by trade speculation, the clock is ticking. How many more years can they waste his prime? The Porzingis deal wouldn't just have improved the roster, it could have saved the timeline, it could have extended their window. Instead of wondering whether to blow it up, they could have been chasing rings. Because that's what dynasties need. They need boldness, patience, vision. In 2021, the Hawks saw the mountaintop, but they refused to build the bridge. Porzingis wasn't a gamble, he was a calculated bet, a high upside swing, and Atlanta played it safe. Now, their safe roster is fractured. Their core is unstable. Their window almost shut. So we ask again, would the Porzingis deal have saved the Hawks' dynasty? The answer is almost cruelly obvious. Yes, it could have. No one's saying they would have won 3 straight titles. But with Trae at the helm and Porzingis as a two-way co-star, they would have been feared, relevant, dangerous. And they would have had a real shot. But history isn't written in what-ifs, it's written in choices. And Atlanta made the wrong one. So what's your take? Was Atlanta foolish to pass on Porzingis? Could he have been the missing piece? Or was the risk too high? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. Smash that like button if you're tired of front offices playing scared. And subscribe for more deep dive NBA stories, forgotten trades, and the spicy what-ifs that haunt the league forever. This was, would the Hawks-Porzingis deal have saved their dynasty? A forgotten fork in the road that could have led to rings.